I'm going to mix up a quadruple batch of dough in the Nutrimill. And my basic batch is 3 cups of flour. So that would be 12 cups in all. We'll go ahead and start with the butter, which I probably would put directly in there and not maybe on a plate, but I wanted you guys to see how much butter this is. It is 8 sticks total. And when you're putting stuff in the Nutrimill, they tell you to make sure that the butter is not cold. So this was sitting out for a while. And then I'm going to go ahead and give that a quick stir just to make sure. And then we'll go ahead and add the sugar. So I have 4 cups of sugar. I'm just going to dump it all in. Try to get it evenly distributed. And I just have the dough hook on. I think the dough hook can handle butter that's a little bit colder. I usually do about maybe 30 seconds and maybe at a level 3 or 4 to get it all blended together. The paddle works better, and on the KitchenAid the paddle works better, but I do not like to switch back and forth between the paddle attachments and the dough hook, so I just go ahead and kick it up to about a 3 or 4 for maybe 30 seconds just to get everything all blended. That was, I started at a level 3 and then kicked it up to a level 4. Now I used to really cream my butter and sugar. I watched like 1,000 videos and there's all kind of different information on it. And I found out just mixing it till blended, like I saw on a video from the Cookie Countess, that was like the best for me with the least amount of spreading. And that looks pretty blended. Then I'm going to put the eggs and vanilla in. There are 4 eggs and 4 tablespoons of vanilla in here. It's vanilla bean paste, as you can probably see. Sometimes I don't put the lid on yet, but I'm going to do that just to be safe. And then I'll do this for about 30 seconds until everything's all blended. Maybe I'll have to scrape down. I do have like extra scraper or a scraper attachment, but I don't like to clean that up, so I don't always use it, or at least I don't use it anymore. And again, between a 3 or a 4, just for about 30 seconds, maybe a little over. And that looks pretty blended. And then I'm just going to put my 12 cups of flour in there, like maybe in 3 increments. I used to just put all the flour in one shot, but then I saw the Cookie Countess video and I'm like, maybe I should try it that way. I was always afraid to overmix, so I think it was actually undermixing my flour into my wet mixture. I usually do this on a lower speed. And I'm on a 2. So I'll do my second incorporation. I just make sure in that first incorporation that I let that flour get mixed in fully, like I watched on the video from the Cookie Countess. And that's a level 2. I usually just don't turn it up too high. And then we have one more little bit to put in there. And I think I just used to be afraid to overmix. So I had more spread issues back then. And we got one more bit to add in. I'm sure the Bosch, or I guess that's how you pronounce it, I'm sure it works a little bit better because it has a bigger bowl and a higher power motor, but I can get a quadruple batch in, no problem. Final bit, and then I'm just going to keep stirring it until it pulls away from the bowl. It pulls away a little bit better in the KitchenAid when I do my smaller batches in the KitchenAid, or when I used to do it in the KitchenAid, but for me, doing that quadruple batch in one shot is like worth it. It's good enough if I have to maybe mix it by hand a little bit at the end. I think I used to stop at about this point, but I'm just going to let it go a little bit more and just let that dough kind of clump together like Play-Doh, so it starts to pull away from the sides of the bowl and in the center of the Nutrimill. Now I can see it starting to like clump up and pull together. And that's probably good enough. And then I'll go ahead and split it into maybe 4 or 5, or sometimes even 6 chunks. And then I just roll it out either between parchment or a Ziploc bag, like a gallon. Some people say they do 2 gallons, but I just do a gallon. And I probably could have let that go a little bit longer, but it's got that Play-Doh consistency, that nice Play-Doh consistency. I think that was my issue way back when. I used to not mix it enough, but there it is. And like I said, I'll just kind of pull it out on parchment paper, flatten it out, break it up into 4 or 6 sections, and then roll it out. But the Nutrimill, the little baby sister to the Bosch, if that's how you pronounce it, works really, really well for an affordable option to a super expensive mixer.